Apple, 3 a.m.
Let's just get this out the way. It's quite clear that Immortals Fenyx Rising is heavily inspired by Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. From the visual style to the dungeons, it's clear that it borrowed a lot, but does being a quote-unquote Zelda clone necessarily make it a bad game? Let's find out. The story is a humorous take on Greek mythology. All of the major players are here: Zeus, Ares, Aphrodite, and Hermes, just to name a few. The plot starts with Typhon, offspring of Gaia, who battles Zeus in order to free the Titans and destroy the rest of the gods. Stop me if you heard this one before. After failing to defeat Zeus, Typhon was locked away in a mountain for 1,000 years until a meteor shower destroyed the chains that kept him prisoner. Once freed, Typhon quickly defeated the gods as they grew soft and weak over time and stole their godly essence, trapping them in an unfamiliar and ungodly form.
Many were captured. Typhon split them apart, cleaving their essences from them and transforming them irrevocably.
After Typhon sets his plan into motion, this is where you come in. Fenyx is shipwrecked in a new land and soon realizes that every other human has been turned to stone, including your brother.
I will bring you back. I swear it.
After coming in contact with Hermes and receiving a crackpot prophecy from the Oracle, Fenyx is tasked to restore the gods to their former glory and team up in order to take down Typhon and undo all the evil he's brought forth.
I told you, it's a problem.
As far as the story goes, this is not a cinematic, award-winning, keep you at the edge of your seat kind of story. The game doesn't take itself too seriously, and neither should you. There are constant jokes being thrown around by each of the characters, which keeps the story feeling upbeat and lighthearted no matter what the overall circumstances. The jokey manner in which the story is told, with Prometheus narrating your journey, while Zeus hurls joke after joke, does get a little stale after a while.
To be fair, I'd had a lot to drink.
Zeus is portrayed as a drunk charlatan with no sense of responsibility or remorse, which, while great at first, does get played out halfway through as you know what to expect.
Out of love.
You know he's gonna interrupt with a fairly obvious and silly joke, but again, this is clearly done to keep the mood of the overall experience fun and engaging. Although I do kinda wish Zeus would dial it back just a bit.
Apollo's music, oh my gods, I've become my father.
Like other Ubisoft open world games like Assassin's Creed, Immortals is massive with so many things to keep you busy, and flying to get there feels really good. So much so that I barely felt the need to fast travel, because gliding your way through far distances is much more enjoyable and a really good way to find new areas to explore and items to collect. You have your standard collectibles like Ambrosia to increase your health meter, Zeus's lightning bolts for your stamina bars, and coins of Charon to improve your combat and traversal abilities, just to name a few. Some of these collectibles you receive after completing time trials, constellation puzzles, and small 10-minute dungeons that are totally not like Breath of the Wild's shrines. Nope, not one bit. But what I really like the most is the gear you gain throughout your journey. You're limited to only a sword, axe, and bow for weapons, and your typical armor, but each one has its own stat increase to make things interesting. For example, one chest plate can give you an extra stamina bar, while another recovers a certain percentage of your health by landing a combo finisher. A sword can increase damage for 6 seconds after a perfect dodge, as opposed to one that buffs you while you're at full health. It really expands on your progression, allowing you to make your character feel like your own, which is pretty neat in a game like this. You can level up your weapons and armor, which applies to all of that type, so you can swap out as the situation calls for it, while not dropping an attack or defense. As for the combat, the hack and slash battle system is similar to old school God of War, but not as expansive. The amount of skills you can learn is limited, and even though you have a combo counter, you don't really have super long extended combos a la Devil May Cry, but you are still able to do some swaggy ground to air combos. You can throw nearby rocks at enemies, which is helpful when dealing with a large monster, but for the most part, the battle system can get a bit repetitive. There's a health and stun gauge, the latter which can be filled up by attacking with your axe, or by performing a perfect parry, which is very easy to time. Stunning enemies gives you a huge amount of time to inflict damage or heal up if you need to, so I approached every battle mainly the same. Just trying to stun enemies with my axe, especially a boss or when I'm dealing with a large group, so after a while, it became a little too familiar. The game isn't difficult at all in the standard difficulty, but take a stroll through the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time, and you'll be faced with a monster you have no business dealing with. The most fun and interesting battles I had were with the 4 corrupted heroes that will randomly pop up and find you out in the open, oftentimes at the worst possible moment as you're in mid-battle. You can face them outright once you've located their dungeons. These optional bosses, Achilles, Heracles, Atlanta, and Odysseus, are all intimidating and overall very entertaining encounters. Achilles kicked my ass the first few times I tried fighting him, forcing me to come back much later after I got stronger. And am I bugging, or does he fight a little similar to how Brad Pitt's Achilles fought in the movie Troy? Shout out to the developers if that was their inspiration. The first thing that stands out in Immortals Fenyx Rising is the art style. The visuals are very bright and colorful, which matches the stylistic nature of the graphics perfectly. Instead of photorealistic models, the characters are all exaggerated and cartoonish, which is consistent with the overall feel of the game. Gliding over the lush green lands, surveying Greek temples, and taking in the sights are a visual treat. On more than one occasion, I caught myself staring off into the beautiful scenery before flying to my next destination. Playing it on PlayStation 5, I was given the oft-too-familiar option of a graphics or performance mode, with the latter running at 60 frames per second. After playing the first 20 hours in graphics mode before switching, the drop in graphical fidelity went mainly unnoticed, besides maybe a slight drop in draw distance and some particle effects. However, the game running at a locked 60 frames per second in performance mode had a substantial effect in all aspects of gameplay, and is clearly the right way to go.
This is where you train?
When it comes to big adventures such as this, there's a reason why some protagonists are mutes. Fenyx is annoying, not only in the voice, but in the lines and delivery. 80% of the jokes or comments Fenyx makes feel forced and fall flat.
You're an inspiration. I get that a lot.
This is especially jarring when speaking to someone like Hermes or Ares, who has much better comedic timing, or Prometheus, who has an excellent voice actor. You have 2 voices to choose from when creating your character, and they both suck.
Put up with a lot of clucking around.
It was worth every...
Good. Now get me out of this clucking chicken suit.
In an industry that's obsessed with sequels, remakes, and reboots, we need more new games like Immortals Fenyx Rising. Taking big inspiration from your peers while making your own is a balancing act, but Ubisoft Quebec did it admirably. While it's not a perfect game by any stretch, it is a fun and entertaining romp that proves that big budget titles don't need a serious, overdramatic story to be great. I thoroughly enjoyed my time so much that I may go back for the Platinum Trophy, which for me is as high a praise as I can give, as normally, I have no interest in trophy hunting.
The long path.
From all of us here at Rotten Apple Gaming, thanks for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell to stay updated on the future
How
videos.
does it take someone that long to begin a story? Odysseus made it home faster.